Unfortunately, I'm facing some unexpected financial difficulties that might impact the channel, so if you enjoy my content, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Your support allows me to continue producing content, plus you can gain access to exclusive benefits. The link's at the top of the description. First up on the shortlist this game week is Salah against his former club Chelsea at Anfield. Haaland doesn't have the home advantage, but he does get to face that poor Wolves defence, and Solanke's opponents West Ham don't have the best of defences either, and he's got the home advantage. I am surprised at how close Solanke's underlying stats are to the giants of Salah and Haaland. He has underperformed his underlying stats though, and the other two have of course overperformed theirs as usual. There has been some regression there though, like I predicted, especially with Salah. I think there'll be plenty more for Haaland as well. I always say the expected numbers are better at projecting the future numbers than the actual numbers themselves, and of course that is true, but there is some influence there with the numbers that Solanke isn't quite as clinical as Salah and Haaland, so even though his underlying stats are quite close, I would expect his numbers to be slightly lower than 3.2, whilst the other two players will be slightly higher than 3.4 and 3.5, which are actually very close between the two giants by the way. The pair of them are nailed on pens for their clubs. Solanke is provisional, he might be on pens if Son's sidelined, but it's unknown whilst this video is being recorded whether he is sidelined or not. If Son's fit and available to play, that really does bring down Solanke's appeal on the shortlist. Solanke doesn't get a look in with free kicks or corners either. The other two players do get to take direct free kicks depending on who's on the pitch. Haaland's much more likely to take one than Salah if De Bruyne's not on the pitch. That's because Salah's much further behind in the pecking order. The Norwegian robot's got the highest anytime goal score odds again this game week, and the highest anytime return odds again. He's only got a 29% chance of blanking. Now the other two players are actually got the same chance of success, 62%. Now Solanke's odds are weighted more towards goals than Salah, which is more promising for him, but Salah gets the additional point for every goal scored. That's enough to level out with Solanke, but not with Haaland. His odds are weighted massively towards goals. He also tops the points projections on both data models. Fantasy Football Fix have got him on 7.6 points, and FPL Review have got him on 7.4 points. He's comfortably ahead of Salah, who's comfortably ahead of Solanke. By comparing the opposition's defence, we can see why Haaland's so far ahead. We did see the underlying stats earlier being quite close to Salah's when you consider that Salah gets an extra point for every goal scored, but if you look at Wolves' defence, especially in comparison to Chelsea's, they've been absolutely awful so far this season. They've actually conceded an average of 3 goals per 90 minutes. That's obviously the worst goals conceded figure in the whole league. They're actually 6 goals worse off than 19th place as well. Before we conclude, we're going to carry out a quick risk assessment. All 3 players featured for their nations, even Solanke for England, but that was only for 18 minutes in the first match. Didn't feature in the second match. Just like Solanke, Salah only featured in Egypt's first match and not the second, and Haaland did feature in Norway's last match. Nevertheless, all 3 players on the shortlist have had at least a week's worth of recovery. In combination with the reliable expected minutes, I've not got any concerns over the fitness of any of these 3 players. Now it's time to conclude. Like most game weeks, it is between Haaland and Salah. I don't need to spell it out to you that Solanke takes 3rd place. And between those two, I think it's clear who has the higher upside despite playing away from home. I think the best captain for Game Week 8 is Haaland. If you want to support the channel from this point onward, make sure you visit my Patreon page at the top of the description.